and we will take back our country on November 5th, 2024. On November 5th, 2024. 2024. Many Republicans like to vote on election day.
Donald Trump and them are foaming at the mouth, literally, as the reality of his felony conviction sinks in more and more. I mean, they really can't believe that it's real.
Joe Biden, our president, is going to be flying to Normandy later today for the commemoration of the 80th anniversary of D-Day. What's interesting is apparently on Monday, he, behind closed doors at a fundraising event, he let former President Donald Trump have it. For the first time ever, he referred to him as a convicted felon who essentially snapped after he lost in 2020. Some of the campaign remarks quoted include this. Folks, the campaign entered uncharted territory last week. For the first time in American history, a former president that is a convicted felon is now seeking the office of the presidency. This isn't the same Trump who got elected in 2016. He's worse. That's different than Friday when he kind of danced around it and never alluded to that. But as we said on the couch and have been projecting for a while, if he were convicted, and he was, they're going to hang convicted felon around him. And every time they talk about him, it's going to be like a brand name.
Can you believe that Biden called Trump a convicted felon? They're trying to hang it around him like a brand name. Kind of like how Trump likes to give his opponents names, right?
Don't like somebody, or if somebody's beating you by 10, 15, or 20 points like we're doing with crooked Joe Biden, let's indict the motherfucker. Let's indict. What was better, crooked Joe or sleepy Joe? Well, okay, let's have a poll. I'll change it. He's both. He's both. He's crooked. Okay, wait, we'll do a poll. We'll go sleepy first, and then we'll go crooked. Which is a better name for Joe Biden? Sleepy Joe or Crooked Joe? Ron DeSanctimonious is being crushed in the polls, all of them. Many globalists are having second thoughts. Rhinos like Karl Rove, Pauline Ryan, and Jeb, low-energy Bush, are beside themselves. They don't know what's going on. Sloppy Chris Christie, he's at 2%. He's like a deranged person. He suffers from Trump derangement syndrome. We don't like Donald Trump. I'm going to stop Donald Trump. If the guy starts crying. What a loser. Lion Ted Cruz. He's Lion Ted. He's no good, I'm telling you. Lyin apostrophe, Lion Ted. Iowa State poll came out recently, just now, I think. Trump is 54%, DeSanctimonious is 18% and falling, and Bird Brain is 12%. Bird Brain. Nikki Bird Brain. Sir, I will never, ever vote against you. You're the greatest president in my lifetime. Ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to announce my candidacy. That's Bird Brain. I know her well. She's not up to the job. So I walked into the cabinet room. You had the group, Crying Chuck, Crazy Nancy. I tell you what, I've been watching her, and I have been watching her for a long period of time. She's not the same person.
I have a policy question for you, sir.
Let's see if he answers it.
I
will. Don't worry about it, Marco. Don't worry about it. Don't worry about it, little Marco. I will.
All right, well, let's hear Big Don. Donald.
Don't worry about it, Don't worry about it, little Marco.
Gentlemen.
Because they are the most dishonest people on earth, other than guys like Adam Schiff and Shifty Pencil Neck. Pencil Neck. He's a marvel. No, he's a structural marvel. He has a neck, and his head is like a watermelon, and his neck. And how that neck can hold up that big, oversized, ugly head is hard to believe. No, it's true. It's true. Big head. When we released that conversation, all hell broke out with the Democrats because they say, wait a minute, this is much different than Shifty Schiff told us. A lot of you are in the real estate business because I know you very well. You're brutal killers. Not nice people at all, but you have to vote for them. You have no choice. You're not going to vote for Pocahontas, I can tell you that. They're going through your country in caravans. I think it was the name I developed. I developed a lot of names. You notice that? People's names, Pocahontas, lots of different names. It's a little bit of a takeoff on her name, her name. wherever she may come from. But it's just
What do you mean by
a
that? What do you mean?
It's a little bit of a takeoff. I look at her name. I look at a lot of people. You know, I do a lot of names for people, like Pocahontas. She said, my mother said I look like an Indian, so I started calling her Pocahontas. Some people say I'm very good at that.
I'm not sure how they can feel any sympathy over anyone calling Trump a convicted felon after he was convicted of felonies. But they don't blink an eye when he has playground nicknames for people. Even the ass kisses he insulted will now defend him. It's telling that we've allowed ourselves to live in conservatives' reality for so long. It's why they're crying so much about it. The thought that only people they consider lowlifes can be convicted felons shows just how much they expect the system to keep protecting the rich and powerful. Donald Trump defenders are even coming out of the woodworks to act like his previous co-conspirators flipping on him is some kind of outrage.
Who are you referring to there?
Michael
Cohen. I mean, well,
yeah.
Dr. Phil, I don't want to get too deep into the law here, but it is not uncommon at all for people who are accomplices to crimes, people who have taken plea deals, non-prosecute. That is not uncommon at all for those people to then testify in subsequent trials for their alleged co-conspirators. That's kind of how a lot of these prosecutions work.
Well, really, give me examples of where that has been considered appropriate.
I mean, look, prosecutors are prosecuting organized crime all the time, and in a lot of those cases, they are relying on co-conspirators to put people who are at the higher levels of the organization behind bars. I don't understand how you can say that because someone signed was not prosecuted, signed a non-prosecution agreement, that information or their testimony cannot be presented before the jury if they were a part of the alleged scheme.
Well, you'll have to give me an example to respond to, because I just simply don't agree with that. I think it's not typical for juries to do this.
First of all, why is Dr. Phil on CNN talking about legal issues when he's a TV psychologist that's apparently never heard of a co-conspirator taking a deal to tell on their boss? It has to be one of the most basic methods of obtaining information on higher-up criminals that expect their guys not to rat on them. Trump has even talked about not liking rats. Still, unfazed by his ignorance being revealed, though, Dr. Phil wasn't even done.
There was a moment at which you said the argument that President Biden can't stop the Trump prosecution in Georgia because it's a state case, you called that an explanation for stupid people. But it is also true that the President of the United States cannot interfere with a state prosecution. That's not how the legal system works. Why is that a position that you're repeating, even though it's very clear that that's not the case?
That is not the case in terms of strict law, but I think if anybody believes that parties on either side can't get together and get something done if they want it done, I think is very naive. That's not the way things work.
But that's exactly the kind of coordination that frankly, Dr. Phil, there is no evidence of, but you're also saying if that coordination happened, for example, in the hush money case, you would have called that a scandal. So why would President Biden do that in Georgia? Interfere with a state case that he has nothing to do with? If he weighed in to make it not happen, why would that not be a scandal?
I'm not saying it wouldn't be a scandal, but I'm saying if you really think that party politics don't cross state lines, federal versus state lines, that there aren't meetings and people talk about this and make decisions about what's best for the party. And sometimes that's probably works to the good of the people.
He only wanted the current president to be openly corrupt and interfere with the prosecution of a former president that clearly broke the law, just because he thinks rich and powerful politicians should stick together when they get caught up. He wouldn't expect Trump to step in if his promises of locking up Hillary and every other person he could think of had happened, because he's interested in protecting the criminals of Trump's orbit.
There's nothing that can shut me up and nothing that will shut me up. There's not a prison built or a jail built that will ever shut me up. We're going to win this. We're going to win at the Supreme Court. And more importantly, we're going to win on November 5th.
And if we don't win on November 5th, we'll plan another attempt to violently overthrow the government, but we'll do better this time. These are the scenes of unraveling culprits doing perp walks while screaming, "I'm innocent," that Trump was dreaming of for everyone else.
The deep state is not the deep state anymore. It's the in-your-face, we don't care, we run America. Elections don't matter. And who you choose for president is utterly irrelevant. If you're not politically engaged, if you're not active on a campaign, if you're not a poll watcher, an election official, running for the local school board, you're working for Biden and the in-your-face state. Wake up, America. Wake up. This is your last election you will ever get if we, the patriots, don't win.
Notice how the propaganda terms like deep state are being retired as they're seeing their president unravel under the pressure of actual consequences. Sebastian Gorka is floating this tactic of literally claiming that his buddy Bannon getting busted means that democracy is over, just flipping reality on its head. So since they're facing consequences, they're leaning into their fascism in order to push the narrative that they're actually fighting it.
I'm just going to tell you, he planned this, just so you know. He thinks he's playing four-dimensional chess. He wants to go to jail so that when he comes out of jail, he can say this is lawfare, all that nonsense he was spewing in front of the court. And he wants to have a retribution movement that isn't grounded in due process or isn't grounded in facts. And so that's right out of a fascist playbook. He has to be called out on that every step of the way, Caitlin. But that's really what the game plan is. And he thinks he's playing four-dimensional chess. And hopefully he ends up in the slammer a lot longer than 4 months.
It's a simple plan from simple-minded, violent, and cowardly people that want their base to lie in wait to carry out another round of terrorism if the guardrails hold firm. That whole mantra about, if they can do this to me, they can do it to you, is curiously ignoring the fact that every one of these guys that's playing a martyr is denying obvious evidence against them. The panic is real.
I gotta tell you, right now, this is how dangerous they know this guy is. They have every instrument of state power to crush Rudy Giuliani, to bankrupt him, to put him in jail, to smear him. We're not gonna let it happen.
Yeah.
Not only are you too good a man, you're too, Rudy, at 80 years old, how many people at 80 years old, your moment's now finally come. This is when America needs you the most.
So we've got Trump preparing for sentencing on July 11th, and Bannon set to be jailed by the beginning of the month. But he's still trying to help Rudy, who's looking at devastating charges that clearly connect him to Trump's election interference scheme, specifically in Georgia, where DA Fani Willis is putting the case together. And since his only defense is that he considers himself America's mayor, racist and misogynistic insults are the only thing that makes him feel better. But that won't keep him out of jail either.
Then I've got two prosecutors, Fanny the Hoe, I'm sorry, Fawny. What is Fawny? Now, F-A-N-I is not Fawny, and I'm not calling her Fawny. I could drop the whole part if she just quit and go away. But to me, you spell your name F-A-N-I, you're Fanny. You're not Fawny.